We return now. If you're just joining us, this is our morning bulletin on MITV Plus. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has inspected a vandalized bridge pillar at Vin, Niger, along the Lagos-Badagry Expressway, assuring residents and motorists that the structural integrity of the facility had not been compromised. Sanwo-Olu carried out an on-the-spot assessment of the affected section on Saturday, said the bridge leads into Festac town, while the land and abutments are under the control of the Federal Housing Authority. The inspection followed viral videos showing the vandalized portion of the bridge, prompting concerns among residents and road users over the safety of the facility. According to him, while the main structure of the bridge remained intact, vandals had excavated and removed some fittings used to secure the facility. Sanwo-Olu described the development as unacceptable and vowed that the government would pursue those responsible for the vandalism, including individuals involved in buying and selling stolen public infrastructure materials. He urged residents to become more vigilant and take ownership of public infrastructure by promptly reporting suspicious activities to security agencies and relevant authorities. Governor Sanwo-Olu also visited the Alabarago International Market with a promise to provide a trailer park and reduce shop prices, while appealing to traders to remain peaceful and ensure no act of kidnapping or banditry is tolerated in Lagos.
It is unfair and it is a shame that citizens of a country will, I don't want to say ignorantly, but deliberately want to destroy public assets. Inside Festac, I'm told now the road that we're doing on the 2nd Avenue and on the 7th Avenue, the drainages that we're doing there, they are broken the drainage slabs, and people are taking away little iron rods that are there. It's a shame, and it is totally, an embarrassment. And this is something that we will not condone. The full arm of the law will be on anybody that has been caught, both the person that is buying and the person that is selling, because we cannot be using public funds to want to bring development to our people, and some scrupulous people will just want to sabotage and frustrate government. Brand new roads that we're doing, 2nd Avenue, 7th, inside Festac. But this is a call that people, when you see something, you should say something. Government is not going to be there every 24/7. People should know that they also have a responsibility for themselves and for government to speak out so that we know how to nip some of these challenges in the bud. These are public goods that are meant to be kept by everyone.
That video of the vandalized bridge pillar spread fast online before the government even responded. And it's raised a bigger question we want to dig into this morning: public infrastructure and why it keeps ending up in the hands of vandals. Joining me is broadcast journalist Adebayo Elukpeju. Good morning, Adebayo.
Good morning.
Good to have you.
See you again.
Good to have you on the program. So let's start with what we just saw. The Lagos State Governor just confirmed that the bridge's main structure wasn't compromised, but that fittings meant to secure the facility had been excavated and removed, allegedly for sale. How organized is this kind of theft in Lagos? And are we dealing with opportunistic individuals or something closer to an actual supply chain for stolen public materials? Are there people who constantly are in demand of these materials?
Well, it's a bit complicated, let me say. However, there's a racket, an organized set of people who are out basically to destroy government infrastructure for personal gains. So these rackets do not necessarily aim government properties alone. They also go to even individual properties. They go around scavenging, as the term really is. And we cannot hinge the entire position on that racket. But opportunism, let's put it that way, that these people go around looking for their daily living. Unfortunately, they decide to rob our commonwealth to please themselves. Some of them do not even know what they do. They're just going around. Should I say they are nomads. or I'm looking for the right word to represent them.
But when
Scavengers.
you say they don't know what they do, you can see a fitting supporting an infrastructure like a bridge, and you
Yes.
begin to remove
Take
those.
it
So
bit by
do we
bit.
assume they don't know the
No. So when I say the implication of what they
okay the
do,
implication? All
some
right.
of these guys, if you really investigate, some of them will thank God that some people have been arrested in connection, but some of them are out. They could steal your pen just because they need to satisfy certain needs, which is another problem in itself. Some of them are drug addicts. Some of them are close to being described as destitutes. They don't have a home, but they became destitutes as a result of their lifestyle, drugs, and all those things. So that's why I say some of them. So these guys are being taken advantage of by people who are in constant need of these
Materials.
materials. You know, we have people who have scrap yards. They pretend they pretend not to know that these are stolen items. So they buy. And what do they buy for? They buy for extremely cheap prices. And that's where they become culpable. So if you're buying used metal materials, let's say, or iron materials, there are standard prices. So if somebody brings something that is supposed to be sold for 100 naira to you, and they want to sell to you for 10 naira, there's need for you to ask certain kind of questions. Is this really yours? How did you come about it? Did the owner ask you to sell? Those questions never happen. So in the first place, I think the moment we start to question the sources of
The
things they bring to us
materials.
to buy, then we are already on the
Do
trajectory
you
of
think? Do you
saving
think
ourselves.
if people who purchase these things go that deep, trying to know the source, do you think that business will be sustainable for them?
No,
Because
no, 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 no. So that's it. You know, the first time I saw the reports on the arrest, my mind went to what people would say. And when I say people, people who are usually out to just criticize government without necessarily paying attention to the realities on ground. So they would say, how then do you want them to survive? They don't even have a means of livelihood. There are no jobs. There are this, they list a whole lot of stuff. But so when you come back to now think about it, not many Nigerians have things, a means of surviving, but they uh, innovate. They come up with ideas. People who are currently making monies, let's look at people in tech, in the tech industry, for instance, or even people who are currently converting waste to energy, to other sources of wealth. They were at one point in that situation. So we cannot excuse who go to that extent. Anyone who is in that space is a thief. You understand? You want
both
to
the
rob
buyer and the
both the buyer and the seller. I had a close experience farm some years back. One of the farmers who happened to be started to move some uh, iron metal material out of the site because he needed money. We were having we couldn't pay, and so he decided to help himself. We didn't even get to know until after he had made the sales, and some security operatives somewhere in Ogun State came back to us to tell us that they called me that, do you know so 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 person? Do you know blah blah blah? That they found these materials with somebody who they can tell definitely that cannot afford. That was so. You see, that's the thinking from the security operative side, that these characters cannot afford these materials.
but
So we
we
decided,
found it on them.
yes. So we decided to investigate further, and then I said yes. So they made me speak with the guy, and I said, the times that you needed money, you called. I ensured that you were retained because I saw that you were hardworking. So you're already working, and then greed sets in, really. Because if he was genuinely in need, he knows how he calls. Oh, I want to pay my children's school fees. I want to do this. And I say, okay, the little I have, I'll support. Let's spread it. How many kids? What is the need? How much are you looking for? Okay, take this. So people can actually reach out. People can actually create jobs for themselves. You see some of these guys that are picking plastic bottles all over the place. They sell. The bottles are not stolen bottles. They are helping the environment. And so there's a whole lot of things that can be done. There are places where you are going to actually find waste that people have disposed. And if you go to scavenge or such places, there will be no crime involved. So feasible. So let's remember the case of the rail track
Vandalism.
vandalism back then. You know, they traced it down to the points of sales. So it's, if you ask me right now to take you to at least 3 locations where iron materials, metals, aluminum are being sold, I could take you to those places. And they have a structure where they buy legitimately. That's like they go to the source. Yes, maybe we're taking this factory down. We don't have needs for these items. And they negotiate and they buy. They get funding from the banks. They get funding from cooperative societies. They have that legitimate structure. But for those who are criminally minded, they still aid these guys who vandalize. And then some of them, you know, it's just like the normal society. We have organizations, we have uh, honest citizens, and then we have those who appear
The
honest
fraudulent
and then they are
ones.
defrauding the system. So it's actually very realistic. It's up to us as a people that we all want to participate in actually eradicating vandalism and then criminality altogether. It's up to us as a people to decide that when we see, we will say. And if we can do that, definitely. Quite a number of people know where these things are usually taken to. There's hardly any community, a major community within the state or within the environs that they don't have such markets. And when you go there, you can identify items that clearly must have been stolen.
This particular issue, went viral because some people filmed it and made it go viral. And the big question many people are asking is, how many of such do we have on notice, around the country, around the state? So what does this tell us about how these incidents are typically discovered? And is it a sustainable way to attack this issue, this vandalism of a thing? Because it has become a norm in our society. I think, in fact, a lot of people are saying there's no big deal in this. We are used to it. You are only making noise now because it is government, it's a public infrastructure. That we experience this almost every time. So, is there a way? Is there any other way to tackle this? So you don't have to wait till a citizen captures the scene and makes it go viral. Can government put anything in place to address this?
I strongly believe government can, but it's difficult to put anything in place without the support of the people. Okay, so our reference pipeline infrastructure, there are heat maps, there are sensors that once you have an infrastructure somewhere, you have to find every means possible to protect it. So if, for instance, we have on these major infrastructures, we have sensors that vandals will not be able to tell exactly where the sensors are located. And then that's even on the side of the government, they need to go the extra mile. Who is on your team? You understand what I mean? So sometimes some of this vandalism are actually aided by people who are on the side of the government. They're the ones that can tell you conveniently that, oh, this is where to look. This is how to operate. This is what to do, and nobody will know that you are
So
actually
some sort of
operating.
insider information.
Insider information. So we need to look inwards first before we start to engage the public as well. But it is definitely possible to actually put a stop to it. So one of those things I just mentioned is technology, the use of technology. The use of whistleblowers, that's probably community representatives in terms of the management of these infrastructures. Take, for instance, if Ikeja under bridge just like that. Luckily, Ikeja under bridge is a bit open, and people have made attempts to occupy and all those things. But because it's so open, it's difficult. But then let's take the management, maybe the security and all aspect of things there, the hand of key community stakeholders. Maybe the KBSC has a team of security operatives who are mandated. Because, let's look at how the NURTW operates in those spaces. And not a single tricycle or bus goes without paying. So it's the same way that we can use the grassroots to manage infrastructures without necessarily even going after all this extreme tech.
So you can make the people at the grassroots take ownership of all of this infrastructure.
Because they have immediate benefits from these infrastructures. In some cases, it is these infrastructures that actually bring the ease of life to these communities.
Sure. All right. Now, we're still talking about the role of the citizens. I agree 100% that the citizens should take ownership. The people at the grassroots should see it as their own, and they should do everything possible to protect it. But what role does the government still has to play in all of this? Because whatever the citizens are doing, they are doing it voluntarily.
Right.
We are not mandating them to do it. So what does government need to put in place from their own end to make sure that this infrastructure that gulps billions of naira don't get vandalized again and again?
Well, we have to, tackling the problem from the roots, really. So first thing first, if you remember at the beginning of these conversations, I referenced the role of, let me use narcotics now, you understand? So we have to identify hotspots, we have to identify markets, we have to take the kids or even the destitutes off the street. It's a difficult task, but we need to create an enabling environment. People who are well-to-do have to continue to create jobs. The idle hand, they say, is the devil's workshop. So if we reduce the number of idle hands that we have, then we have reduced headache along these lines. So government has to provide alternative means of survival. Fight the peddling of drugs. Provide jobs. We can't provide jobs for everybody, but if you provide for a large chunk of people, and I'm not even saying government should build factories, but if you want to build, I've had cases of people who want to establish factories in Nigeria, but the bottleneck they go through is so enormous that they often decide to face another country, to go somewhere else to start their business because the bottleneck is so much. Now, the bottleneck doesn't necessarily have to be official bottlenecks. It's just our people who are there to frustrate you. There was a case of a businessman from South, and he needed to set up. And the bribe he was going to pay more, or let me call it the PR he was going to do, was even more than his 5-year profit. And that was why the man went back. Of course, people like us who were at the time excited that, yes, there's a job opportunity, we lost that opportunity. So we need to enabling environment for people to set up in. How many of our industries are dead? Why are they dead? There's lack of quality. As much as the government is trying today, like that, for some of us, we see power at least a reasonable number of hours now. Yeah. So, but there's more along those lines. What about lighting up the environment? The first thing is, if you look at where this vandalism, often there's darkness. You understand? These little things can also be fixed, but trust me, businessmen have that enabling environment and to do their business without fear, without fear that I'm going to spend all of my profits on power generation, all of those things. We have a number. I see people coming out of along the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, and the number that coming out of 1 or 2 factories along the way tells me create an enabling environment, and maybe one organization can take as much as young people, take them off. It's going to go a long way.
A mega city, as
Right.
claimed. But this is 2026. We struggling with surveillance at blind spots.
Yeah.
Exactly, will this state be mature enough, to have CCTVs that because it's just late already? Because if we have
Right.
CCTVs, cameras, these places, we wouldn't have this issue. So, what do you think the Lagos state government is doing when it comes to surveillance as a whole?
So this is going to be an indictment on the government. There are a couple of CCTVs that, well, as at the last time I checked, were so there has to be a constant, you understand,
Sure.
to check that, okay, there has to be usual that has taken place. Let me take an example. Well, there's one that usually catches me. So once my vehicle license is
You
expired,
get that one.
it's not even for
Work,
2 days.
that one works
Do
perfectly.
you understand? So, but there are other parts where, and we have violators across the states. Luckily, I've paid a number of times, so violating
I
anymore.
mean, in that should be first, I
You
understand.
understand? So, all the other ones that are not functioning, when people are there channels where people can actually report. Well, it's not everybody that will be able to tell that it's not working. There has to be a way to determine that are these things functioning. The other thing is that also go deeper in our use of technology, whereby people have to know that there are surveillance cameras around you. I've seen cases, though yes, really difficult to do that, but I think cameras can still be explored further than well, exploit than what we are currently doing. A single camera that looks like a single camera might be sufficient, but as far as 3, 4 kilometers, you know what I mean? There was a time that we used to use to check situations far away. Yes, it was through satellite cameras, but I remember, and I'm talking as far back as 2012, 2010, you could zoom in on beggar bus stop, right? You could zoom in to the point that you can see it there. I don't know what happened to that technology because a few times I've tried it. Yes, they are often specialized and agencies, but I think that can be revisited. Government can invest in things like that. Sometimes our people are angry. That's why they're going to invest so much billions into something as simple. But well, it runs deeper, and then government also has to go a step further in educating the people to be orientated properly. We need to know. We know, but we seem to have forgotten to keep reminding us time and again.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Adebayo Ilupeju.
It's always a pleasure to be here.